Hello there, ladies and gents, back again with another timely review, really hitting my stride this year.
I just don't like you no more. I thought you did.
And let's continue that with M. Night Shyamalan's second movie to release in the 2020s, Knock at the Cabin. To be honest, I was hesitant to watch since his previous movie, Old, left much to be desired. A muddled story with an ending that couldn't justify the time getting there. Also, his track record in the past decade hasn't been the best, with a few glaring moments in between. Alas, gave into paying for a ticket to see it in theaters, sat through it all, and there's actually some things I liked. Before I get into that, let me set the story in case you didn't already know. It's about a family of 3 who take a vacation to a cabin in the woods when they unexpectedly receive visitors telling them they must willingly sacrifice one of themselves to prevent the apocalypse from happening. Performances are by far the best part of the movie. Before I get into that, let me set the story in case you didn't already know. It's about a family of 3 who take a vacation to a cabin in the woods when they unexpectedly receive visitors telling them they must willingly sacrifice one of themselves to prevent the apocalypse from happening. Performances are by far the best part of the movie. Our 2 main leads, husbands Eric and Andrew, played by Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge respectively, were great to follow throughout. The dichotomy between them was done well, with Andrew essentially being the big pants in the relationship with temper issues, and Eric having a more calm demeanor and being the support to Andrew. Seeing how they process this insane assertion that they hold the responsibility of the world's fate with different perspectives is a huge part of the story, and both actors execute it well. Dave Bautista plays as Leonard, the de facto leader of our 4 intruders, who I'll refer to as the Chaotix collectively from here on out. He's a 2nd grade teacher who claims he received visions of the apocalypse, and I like Bautista in this role. He brings a tranquil aura around him needed to balance out the more zany personalities of the Chaotix, which can be difficult to do when he's built like a F-150. Even Andrew comments on his large, menacing stature.
This guy's freaking huge.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
But he's still able to deliver in his performance. This is shown in his first screen appearance with Win and made me endeared to him from the start. Relatively recently, Bautista said he wanted to pursue a more serious action career, straying away from roles like Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is a great step in that direction. The other 3 Chaotix, Redmond, Adrian, and Sabrina, played by Rupert Grint, Abby Quinn, and Nikki Amuka-Bird respectively, all delivered in their performances as well. Found them to be believable characters, regular people who out of nowhere started receiving these apocalyptic visions and take them as their truth, even though they look absolutely bonkers doing so. Though unlike Leonard, it seems to have taken a greater toll on their psyche, especially Sabrina, and Amuka-Bird does an excellent job at conveying that toll and pain, convincingly too. Since I already mentioned every other character, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about Wen, played by Christian Kiwi. She had the weakest performance out of everyone. Shocking, I know. It's the recurring problem with child actors when their line delivery sounds staged and not like it's coming from an actual character. Takes me partially out of the movie when this 8-year-old is sounding like a miniature adult. Thankfully, after giving her lots of prominence in the beginning, she's only sprinkled throughout the rest. Cinematography was solid. There were a couple of scenes that used cool POV shots and angles. There was also a ton of close-up shots, and while I liked their use in the beginning, it got annoying pretty quickly the more it was used. Found out after watching that Jaron Bleshka was the cinematographer, to my surprise, considering his previous works like last year's The Northman used its outside surroundings effectively to create a sense of mood. Don't get that same experience with Knock at the Cabin. Camera work is more tamed, but for the movie it's understandable. And that's it for the positives. Now let's get into what I disliked, and there will be spoilers from here on out. You have been warned. When our main family is presented the choice to sacrifice one of themselves, Leonard says that every time they deny, they will unleash a plague for the sins of humanity.
By sacrificing one of the Chaotix.
They choose not to, with Andrew and Eric accusing the Chaotix of being crazy conspiracy theorists. A plausible reasoning to come to. What they're proclaiming does sound like something from a doomsday blog. Because they didn't choose, Redmond must be killed. The remaining members then show a news report of an earthquake happening as a result of his death. However, Andrew has a very insightful eye and sees that it was a pre-recording happening 4 hours ago, and the Chaotix keep suspiciously looking at their watches. Detective Andrew is on the case. Andrew also accuses them of being homophobic and that they were targeted because they were gay. which was given basis when he realizes that Redmond was the man shown in the flashback scene from many years ago, who smashed the glass bottle on his head in a bar because he and Eric were talking too loudly, even though they really weren't. The Chaotix do deny they're homophobic and that they knew the family they would find had a gay couple, though they could easily be lying to put our fam at ease. Throughout the movie, there's actually multiple flashback scenes about Eric and Andrew's lives as a gay couple, disapproval from Andrew's parents,
Fucking faggots!
having to lie about the relationship so they can see Win for the first time after adopting, the bar incident of course, and scenes that happened probably a couple hours prior to the start of the movie. And that got me thinking, was this a part of M. Night's big twist? That the Chaotix were just a part of some sick cult to feed their homophobia? How not addressing homophobia can lead to unnecessary hurts? His movies are known for these twists. Even this TV spot bets you won't be able to guess what happens at the end. They want you to know this. Lo and behold, this was not the twist. Matter of fact, they were telling the truth. They aren't homophobic. The news reports were real. The world is getting destroyed if Eric, Andrew, and Win don't decide amongst themselves to kill, and they didn't get targeted. You would think Redmond's connection with Andrew would have more significance, considering the injury he inflicted caused Andrew to go through physical therapy, take up boxing classes, and buy a gun for self-defense, morphing his character to the man he is today. Instead, Redmond's connection is used as a catalyst to reinforce Andrew's belief that these people are targeting them, but Redmond doesn't even recognize Andrew or Eric from any interactions they had. Just like the others, he came to the cabin because of his visions. Andrew does say at one point,
"It's a coincidence? The man who attacked me and had me in years of therapy is one of your group?"
and yup, that's exactly it. So now I'm thinking Shyamalan's angle was the dangers of falsely accusing people of being prejudiced, even though this would be taking that to the extreme. And it wasn't that either, probably for the best too. Andrew's
Accusations! False accusations!
are never addressed at all. They fall off the face of this film. Though I understand it's hard to do when the only people who could hold him accountable die one by one by one. Leonard is the last person standing from the Chaotix and reveals some shocking information. The apocalypse was already commencing before they reached the cabin. What they're experiencing now is the final stages of the end. I was confused why he would withhold such important information until only 15 minutes left of the runtime.
For every no you give us, we will unleash a plague for the sins of humanity. Maybe the truth is that the end was happening long before we got to this cabin.
Liar!
Don't you think that would have been helpful to know when, let's say, you showed a news report of an earthquake that was in development 4 hours prior, so you won't look like you're bullshitting out of your ass? And wait a second, if the apocalypse was already happening beforehand, then what was the point of the other Chaotix being killed? The movie frames their deaths causing these catastrophic events, but from what Leonard just told us, it completely invalidates that. Sabrina, Adrian, and Redmond died for literally no reason.
After asking the question,
Will you make a choice?
Andrew and Eric do deny again, with Leonard responding with, "All of humanity has been judged," before slitting his throat. Minutes later, our lovebirds are fighting over whether they should still make the sacrifice or not, Eric pleading that they make the decision. Andrew eventually gives in and wants himself to be the one sacrificed. You mean to tell me it took Andrew less than 5 minutes to believe Eric that the apocalypse is real? When shown breaking news reports of airplanes falling out of the sky due to Sabrina's death, that still doesn't convince him, even though they weren't pre-recorded or happening in prior time, which is the problems he had with the previous news reports. Of course, this is highlighting Andrew's strong denial of the truth and how he eventually needs to trust in something more than him, a sentiment voiced by Sabrina earlier in the film.
When I was a kid, my dad used to say to me, "Trust in something more than you."
But it still doesn't explain how he switched up so quickly, especially considering Andrew was trying to reason with him when they saw the breaking news report. It just feels rushed, trying to tie up the story. Ultimately, Eric is the one who willingly sacrifices himself because he said in his truth that this is what he needs to do to provide a better life for Win. His death stops the apocalypse from continuing and the world is saved. After Eric's death, Andrew and Win find the truck the Chaotix came in and drive to a crowded quiet diner where everyone is watching the news, seeing that the tsunami has subsided and planes stop falling from the sky. Before they leave, Andrew looks through personal items from the Chaotix. I like this scene because it shows that they were real people who left real family and friends behind for the greater good of the world. One of the items was a portrait of Adrian and her son Charlie, which Andrew thought she was lying about having a child. And now that child is motherless. Congrats. So Mr. Shyamalan did the reversal twist. No twist at all. Just a family not believing the world's fate is in their hands because it's such a preposterous claim to make. Wait, there is a big reveal about the Chaotix. They are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Something I figured out within the first 20 minutes. There's 4 of them, the apocalypse is happening, put 2 and 2 together, you get the easiest conclusion to make. On top of that, it doesn't make any sense on all angles. The 4 horsemen are entities that actually cause destruction to the world. The Chaotix don't because the world was already ending before they even reached the cabin. They're more so oracle curators of the apocalypse who request others to stop it since they don't really have any power. Eric is the one who makes this revelation, saying they represent 4 aspects of humanity: malice, nurturing, healing, and guidance through their professions, except Redmond Gas
Worker
doesn't really give off malice. Guess he really is just a coincidence. This is used for reasons why they're the horsemen, but the quickest Google search will tell you that the representations are war, death, famine, and conquest. I'm gonna try to tweak this twist for the better. What a tongue twister. Instead of having the news reports follow each chaotic death be about tsunami, earthquake, sickness, or whatever the fuck, have it highlight an aspect of a horseman. For example, one could be about a massive crop outage which could link to famine, or the professions could have a similar purpose. Adrian is already a line cook, so have the other 3 professions foreground a horseman. Leonard could still be a teacher, but make him also a chess mentor, since chess is a game of conquest for the other side's king. And even if it's still an obvious twist, at least it actually makes sense, which is the least you could do. Knock At the Cabin is based off of the 2018 novel The Cabin at the End of the World. Didn't read it because I didn't have to. I did read the synopsis for curiosity and found out that there were some changes made from book to screen. For one, when Redmond dies in the book, his death delays the apocalypse, unlike movie Redmond's, which basically does nothing. Don't understand why you would scrap this plot device from the story when it gives his death more purpose. If this only applied to Redmond's death, could have made the other 3 deaths do the same thing and incorporate it with the Chaotix constantly looking at their watches to show how much time they have left until the world ends. Before Eric dies in the movie, he says they had to see them die to fully make their decisions of sacrifice, and that's really the best replacement for the purpose of their deaths. Why change something if you end up making something worse than the thing that you changed? The biggest alteration made is with Wynn, since she actually dies in the book after accidentally getting shot by Andrew. Because she wasn't chosen to be sacrificed, her death won't stop the apocalypse, and either Eric or Andrew must be killed to stop it. Only they decided not to choose because Andrew refuses to believe that Wynn's death wasn't enough. So they choose to not save the world and drive off into the sunset to whatever awaits them. While changing this original ending to what we get with the movie prevents our 2 protagonists from looking like complete fucking scum for choosing themselves over the entire fucking planet, it would have helped reinforce not only the family bond, but our guys' love too. In the flashback scene of Andrew's parents visiting them, Eric says you and me together after the disappointing visit, so it would have worked with the story. I'll say Knock at the Cabin is leagues beyond old, with most of the performances doing the heavy lifting. Maybe invested in their characters to see what happens next. But there's such glaring problems with the plot that once noticed, it brings down this movie quite a lot for my liking. And also, whoever is responsible for making this TV spot is a fucking liar. I'm done talking about this movie. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. You are a trooper. If you haven't already, why not give this video a like and subscribe with bell notifications for future content. And I'll see you all in the next one. I fare you all adieu. There's one more thing.